The lights were bright. The crowd was ready for a show at KnokXPro Entertainment in Los Angeles. Fans expected drama, athletic displays, and a story within the squared circle. Instead, they witnessed a moment where performance and reality violently collided. This was not part of the show. It was a brutal assault, live-streamed for the world to see. RajaJackson, son of MMA legend Quinton "Rampage" Jackson, entered the ring targeting veteran wrestler SykoStu Smith. The plan was for Jackson to get his receipt, a wrestling term for in-ring payback. But Jackson unleashed a savage beating on an unsuspecting opponent. The crowd's cheers turned to gasps as the planned spot became a real-life nightmare. SykoStu was left bloodied and unconscious, needing immediate medical attention. The LAPD was called, turning the wrestling ring into a police matter. The incident raised questions about wrestling culture and the blurred lines performers walk. How could a planned piece of entertainment go so wrong? The RajaJackson incident became a cautionary tale. It forced everyone involved to confront the real violence that can erupt when the script is thrown away. The event, meant to showcase talent, became the scene of a crime. It was a dark chapter in the history of independent wrestling. Every fire starts with a spark. For the tragic events of August 23rd, that spark occurred backstage. SykoStu, in character, reportedly approached RajaJackson and struck him with a beer can. He allegedly told Jackson he was not a worker, a term for someone not a trained wrestler. The interaction created tension, received as a genuine insult by Jackson. Realizing his mistake, Stu apologized multiple times, trying to de-escalate the situation. But the damage was done. The seed of resentment was planted. This backstage incident is crucial to understanding what happened next. It wasn't a random act of violence, but a direct result of this initial clash. Wrestling has a tradition of handling disputes in the ring, not letting conflict fester backstage. An agreement was reached for Jackson to get payback during the show. This decision set the stage for disaster, putting an untrained MMA fighter into a wrestling scenario. The plan was to channel his anger into a controlled, scripted moment of revenge. But Jackson was not a professional wrestler. He was a fighter conditioned for real combat. The attempt to resolve the conflict through a wrestling spot was a catastrophic miscalculation. It had devastating consequences for everyone involved. The plan failed to account for the one variable that mattered most: RajaJackson's state of mind. With tension simmering, KnokXPro opted for a classic wrestling resolution turn real-life heat into a work. SykoStu would be in the ring, and RajaJackson would make his entrance for revenge. This is a time-honored tradition in wrestling, harnessing raw emotion into a compelling storyline. The concept of the receipt was central to this plan, a form of in-ring retaliation. Another wrestler, Andre Joel Hudson, reportedly encouraged Jackson to give his receipt. This advice, given to an MMA fighter with a bruised ego, was like handing a lit match to someone in gasoline. However, Jackson's own words on his livestream revealed a darker intention. He was not thinking about a wrestling spot, but about a fight. "They told me to hit him and just leave," Jackson said, "but I'm going to hit him as many times as I can." This was not the mindset of a performer preparing for a scripted scene. The disconnect between the plan and Jackson's intent was a chasm. The promotion believed they were setting up a controlled piece of sports entertainment, but Jackson saw an opportunity for brutal, real-world revenge. The plan for payback was flawed from its inception. It failed to account for RajaJackson's state of mind. The moment arrived. SykoStu was in the ring, executing a planned move. This was the cue for RajaJackson's entrance, a moment designed for a simple resolution. But Jackson did not deliver a simple receipt. He cashed it in with horrifying interest. He stormed the ring, fueled by anger not part of any performance. He grabbed SykoStu and lifted him into the air, delivering a violent, uncontrolled throw. The impact was sickening, and Stu may have been unconscious from the slam alone. The agreed-upon spot was over the second Stu hit the mat. But for Jackson, the assault was just beginning. He mounted the motionless Stu and began raining down punches. It was a relentless barrage of closed-fist strikes, not a wrestling performance. He wasn't pulling his punches. He was trying to hurt the man beneath him. He landed at least 20 punches to the head and face of the unconscious wrestler. The crowd's excitement turned to a horrified hush, punctuated by screams. This was no longer a receipt. It was a mauling. It was a terrifying departure from professional wrestling. The culture of the receipt is built on trust and professionalism. It's about sending a message, not causing serious injury. Jackson shattered that trust, twisting it into an instrument of pure violence. He didn't just cash in a receipt, he burned the system of trust to the ground. The incident left a broken man in his wake. It was a complete and terrifying departure from anything resembling professional wrestling. The transition from a planned wrestling spot to a real-life assault, known as a shoot, happened instantly. The moment Jackson slammed SykoStu with genuine force, the performance was over. A shoot is the ultimate breach of trust in wrestling, where a performer deviates from the script to inflict real harm. This is precisely what Jackson did, crossing a line rarely crossed. The other wrestlers and officials recognized the situation immediately. The choreographed dance had become a street fight, and panic set in. As Jackson delivered punch after punch, a sense of helplessness descended. Fellow wrestler Douglas Mallow and officials scrambled into the ring to engage in a rescue. They had to physically pull the enraged Jackson off his victim. The scene was one of utter chaos, with Stu lying on the mat, a pool of blood forming. The violence was not just shocking, it was life-threatening. The fun, family-friendly atmosphere was replaced by the grim reality of a brutal assault. The live stream captured the entire sequence, providing undeniable evidence of Jackson's intent. The digital audience watched as a planned piece of content became a live broadcast of a violent crime. Once Jackson was pulled away, the ring was a scene of grim urgency. The pretense of a wrestling show was shattered, with focus shifting to first aid. SykoStu was unconscious and bleeding, with severe injuries. Paramedics were called, and Stu was rushed to a hospital. His brother reported he was in stable but critical care. While medical personnel attended to Stu, law enforcement began their work. The LAPD arrived, turning the wrestling ring into a crime scene. They took statements from witnesses and launched a formal investigation. RajaJackson was now the subject of a criminal investigation. For the audience, the experience was traumatic. They had come to be entertained but witnessed a brutal assault. The incident served as a reminder that behind the characters are real people. The response from the wrestling world was swift and unequivocal. KnokXPro Entertainment condemned the attack as a selfish, irresponsible act of violence. They made it clear that what happened was not part of any plan. By taking a firm stance, KnokXPro sought to distance itself from Jackson's actions. The most significant consequence was a lifetime ban for RajaJackson. He would not be welcome at any future KnokXPro events. The ban was a declaration that such behavior would not be tolerated. The wider wrestling community reacted with horror and outrage. Veteran journalist Dave Meltzer called it the worst thing he'd ever seen in a ring. Wrestler Douglas Mallow called for Jackson and Hudson to be prosecuted. The legal system became involved, with the LAPD's investigation. Jackson could face serious criminal charges, including assault. The potential for legal consequences served as a stark warning. The wrestling ring is not a lawless space where violence can be excused. In the face of public outrage, Quinton "Rampage" Jackson addressed the controversy. The former UFC champion and father of RajaJackson issued a public apology. He condemned his son's actions and framed the incident as bad judgment. Rampage revealed that Raja had suffered a concussion days before the event. This information suggested Raja may not have been in a clear state of mind. Rampage emphasized that his son is an MMA fighter, not a pro wrestler. While the father spoke, the son remained silent. RajaJackson made no public comment, his silence deafening. His only statement was the violent one he made in the ring. With a police investigation underway, he likely remained quiet on legal advice. However, his silence left a void filled with speculation and condemnation. The dynamic between the father's apology and the son's silence is compelling. Rampage tried to do damage control, but his words couldn't erase the assault. Raja's actions created a stain that a father's apology could not wash away. The RajaJackson incident holds up a dark mirror to professional wrestling. It forces the industry to confront its most dangerous traditions. The culture of receipts is a relic from a different era. This event proves how disastrous it can be when trust is misplaced. It raises a critical question: should these unwritten rules still exist? The incident highlights the risks of blurring lines between work and shoot. Promoters have long used real-life animosity to sell tickets, But this event is a terrifying example of the potential consequences. The safety of performers must be the highest priority. The impact on individuals involved is profound and lasting. SykoStu faces a long recovery, and his career is in jeopardy. RajaJackson faces potential criminal charges and a tarnished reputation. This story is a cautionary tale with broad implications. It serves as a reminder that the drama inside the squared circle should remain a performance.